name of the town is called Grover's Corners, New Hampshire. Just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude, 42 degrees, 40 minutes. Longitude, 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The first actual day in our town, May 7th, 1901. Time was just before dawn. You see some streaks fly over in the east there, just behind our mountain. The morning star was showing off bright just a minute before us to go. Well, I gotta show you how a town lines up. Up here is Main Street. Way back there are the railroad stations. Tracks from all the way. Across the tracks are a Polish town with some peanut families. Over there is the Congregational Church. Presbyterians are across the street. Methodists and Unitarians are over there. Baptists are down hollow by the river. And Catholics are way beyond the tracks. This is our city hall and the post office combined. Jail's in the basement. Williams, Jenna, and Brian once made a speech from these very steps. Along here are both stores with paging posts and horse block in front of them. The first automobiles are about to come along in 5 years. They belong to Beggar Cartwright, our richest citizen. He lives in the White House up on the hill. Along here are our grocery store and Mrs. Morgan's drugstore. Most of in our town finds themselves looking to these stores at least once a day. Public schools over yonder, high school's just a little farther over. The whole town can hear the screaming and yelling from those schoolyards. This is our dog Gibbs' house. This is the back door. That's some scenery for those who feel they need to have scenery. We have a big newspaper that comes out twice a week, the Grover's Corners Sentinel. This is our editor Webb's house. This is Miss Garner. It's just like Mrs. Gibbs with a bunch of hollyhock heliotrope, but has a lot of sunflowers too. Right here is a big butternut tree. It's a nice town, you know what I mean? No one ever remarkable ever comes out of it, as far as we know. The earliest tombstones say 1670 to 1680, with whole messes of Gibbses, Hershey's, and Cartwrights. Cements have been all around. Well, as I said, it's about dawn. The only lights on are from a small cottage where a small Polish mother just had twins. And in the Joe Pearl's house, where Joe Jr. is getting ready to deliver the morning paper. And in the depot, where Shorty Hawkins is getting ready to flag the 545 for Boston. Naturally, in the country and all around, the lights have been on for some time. But town people sleep late, so another day has begun. Here comes Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now. There's his wife coming down to make breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in 1930. The new hospital is named after him. His wife died first, a long time ago in fact. She went to go visit her daughter Rebecca, who married an insurance man in Canton, Ohio, and died there. Pneumonia. But her body was brought back here. She's up in the cemetery now with the whole messes of Gibbses and Herseys. She was actually Julia Hersey before she married Doc Gibbs in the Congregational Church over there. And in the fire town, let's know facts about everybody. There's Mrs. Webbs coming out to make her breakfast too. And that's Doc Gibbs, who got a call 1:30 this morning. And there's Joel Jr. getting ready to deliver the morning paper.
Morning, Doc Gibbs.
Morning, Joe.
Somebody been sick today?
No, just a pair of twins over at Polish Town.
Would you like a paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything important happened in the world since Wednesday?
Nothing much, except my school teacher, Miss Foster's, getting married to a fellow over in Concord.
I declare. How do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course, it's none of our business, but if I were to say, if a person starts out to be a teacher, they ought to stay there.
How's it need, Joe?
It's good. Like you said, I don't pay mine to it. It only tells me when it's going to rain.
And what's it telling you today? Gonna rain?
No, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
You ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
I want to tell you about my boy Joe there. Joe was awful bright. Graduated from the high school here, head of his class. So he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there too. It was all written in the Boston paper at the time. Could be a great engineer, Joe was. But the war broke out, and he died in France. All that education. For nothing. Yeah, see. They're talking to some delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
No, just a pair of twins over at Miss Groslowski's.
Twins. Yeah, these towns getting bigger every year.
Is it gonna rain, Howie?
Nah, fine day. I don't break through. Come on, Bessie.
Hey, Bessie. How old is she now, Howard?
Going on 17. Bessie's all mixed up about the route ever since the long car stopped taking the quart of milk every day. She's been leaving him a quart just the same. Keeps scolding me the whole trip.
Good morning, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs. Dog's just coming down the street.
Is he? Seems like you're late today.
Yeah, Superman and Mom was separated. Don't know what it was.
Children, time to get out. George, Rebecca.
Howard. Yes, I declare. Easy as kills.
Bake food ready in a minute. Sit down and drink your coffee. You catch a couple hours sleep this morning, can't you?
Miss Wentworth's coming over at 11, and I reckon I know what it's about. Her stomach gave me a lot of me.
All told, you won't get more than 3 hours of sleep. I don't know what will become of you, Frank Gibbs. I do wish you could go away someplace nice. Take rest. I think it'll do you good.
Niños, Emilia, son las 7. Wally, es hora de levantarse.
I declare, you've got to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. I can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
George, Rebecca, you'll be late for school. George!
George, look sharp. Don't you hear your mother calling you? Well, I guess I'll go up and get 40 rings.
Niños, es hora de levantarse, se les va a hacer tarde. Wally, lávate bien, o voy a subir la celda yo misma.
Mom, what dress should I wear? Now quiet, Rebecca. Your father's been on all night and he needs his rest. I've washed and ironed your blue gingham special for you. I hate this dress. Oh, hush up with you. Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey. Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice. Mama, Georgia's throwing soap at me. I'll come and slap the both of you. That's what I'll do. You're a factory in our town. Your name's Blankets. Cara Alton, I brought him a fortune.
Niños, esto no se los permito. No quiero que traigan como locos, que eso atrofará el crecimiento. Wally, quita tus libros.
Ay, pero mamá, vengas a las 10 de la mañana para saber todo lo que hay sobre cámara.
Ya te lo he dicho. Yo prefiero niños sanos que inteligentes. Ya te lo he dicho muchas veces.
Yo soy las dos cosas, mamá. Soy la más inteligente entre las muchachas de mi edad en el colegio. Tengo una memoria extraordinaria.
¿Cómo te desayuno?
Yo también soy inteligente con mi colección de estampillas. Speak to your father about it when he's well rested. Seems to me 25 cents is enough for a boy your age.
Oh my, I got things to buy.
Strawberry farm sweets. That's what you spend it on.
I don't see our bed comes up so much money. She has more than $1.
I've been saving up gradual. Well, Rebecca, it is nice to save up every now and then and spend some too. Mama, you know what I love the most in the world, do you? Money. Eat your breakfast.
Niños, caminen rápido, pero no corran. Emilia, enderezate. Wally, súbete los pantalones hasta la rodilla.
Thomas Foster, I send you my best congratulations. Can you do that? Yes, Mom. You, very nice, Rebecca. Pick up your feet. Can't forget you. Oh, good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
Oh, I still get that tickling feeling in the back of my throat. I told Charles Anna knows I go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yes, but somehow I can't do that and stay on key. While I'm resting, I thought I'd string some of these beans.
Oh, here, let me help you. Beans have been very good this year.
I've decided to put 40 quarts in them up, even if it kills me. The children say they hate them, but they get them down all winter.
No, Myrtle, I've got something to tell you, because if I don't tell someone soon, I'll burst.
Why, Julia Gibbs?
Did one of those secondhand furniture men come see you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called upon me. At first, I thought he was a patient waiting to see Dr. Gibbs, but he wormed his way into my parlor and offered me $350 for grandmother one of our tie boy, because I'm sitting here.
Why, Julia Gibbs?
He did. I don't think. Gosh, it was so big, I didn't even know where to put it. I almost gave it to cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to keep it, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know? $350? What's come over you?
Well, if I could get the doctor to go away on some trip, I'd sell it like that.
How does he feel about it?
Well,
It's always been a life dream of mine to go see Paris, France. But how he feels about it, well, I did beat about the bush a little and said, if I got a legacy, that's how I put it, I'd make him take me somewhere.
What did he say?
Oh, you know how he is. I haven't heard a serious word out of him since I've known him. No, he says. It might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. Every 2 years, he makes a trip up to the battlefields of the Civil War and says that's enough treat for anybody.
Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War. Mr. Webb's a good mind to leave Napoleon and move over to the Civil War. Dr. Gibbs being one of the greatest minds in the country just makes him despair.
It's a fact. Dr. Gibbs is never so happy as when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. The times we've walked up those hills, paced around the bushes, like we were going to buy them.
Well, if that second-hand man is really serious about buying it, Julia, then you sell it, and then we'll get to see Paris on right. Just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. It's just, to me, once in your life before you die, you ought to go someplace where they don't speak English, or don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. That'll do. We'll have to move along for a few hours. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Now, we want to know a little more about this town, on a more scientific account, if you will. So I've invited a professor of our state university to sketch in a few details. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard from our state university? Only a few brief notes, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is very limited.
Grover's Corners, let me see. Grover's Corners lies on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say it's some of the oldest in the world. We're very proud of that. A shelf of Devonian basalt crosses it with vestiges of Mesozoic shell and some sandstone outcroppings. But that's all more recent. 200, 300 million years ago? Some interesting fossils have been found. I may say unique fossils. They can be seen at the museum in our university at any time. That is, at any reasonable time. Oh, shall we read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation, precipitation, etc.?
I'm afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. We may have a few brief notes on the history of man here.
Yes, and meteorological data. Early Amerindian stock. Cotahuasi tribes, no evidence found for a 10th century of this era. Now entirely disappeared. Possible traces in 3 families. They can be seen at the museum. Possible traces in 3 families. Migration towards the end of the 17th century of English brachiocephalic flight stopped, for the most part. Since then, since last...
And the population, Professor?
Within the town limits, 2,640.
Excuse me, Professor?
Oh, yes, indeed. The population at the moment is 2,642. The postal district region is 507, more making it 3,149. Mortality and birth rates constant by McPherson scale 6.032.
Thank you, Professor. We're all very obliged to you, I'm sure.
Not at all, sir, not at all.
Oh, this way, Professor. Now on with our social and political reports, Editor Webb. Mr. Webb?
Oh, he'll be out in a minute. He just cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Carlos, todo el mundo te está esperando.
Mr. Webb is the editor and publisher of the Grover's Corners Sentinel. That's our local paper, you know.
Well, I don't have to tell you that we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at age 21. Women vote indirect. We're a lower middle class, sprinkling of professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republicans, 6% Democrat, 4% Socialist, rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestants, 12% Catholic, the rest indifferent.
Any comment, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most, but our young people here seem to like it well enough. 90% of them graduating from high school settled down right here to live, even when they made away to college.
Now, would anyone in the audience like to ask Mr. Webb a question?
Is there much drinking in Grover's Corners?
Not much. Well, actually, I don't know what you call much. Saturday nights, the farm hands me down at Ellery Greenhouse Table in Hollisome. We've got 1 or 2 town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, I'd say liquor ain't a regular thing in the home here. Except in the medicine chest. Right good for a snake bite, you know. Always was.
Is there no one in town aware of?
Oh, sorry, what was that? Could you come down so everyone can hear you?
Is there no one in town aware of social injustice or industrial inequality?
Oh, yes. Everybody is something terrible. Seems like they spend most of their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Then why don't they do something about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all fighting like everyone else for a way that digital and insensible can rise to the top and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those that can't help themselves. And those that can, we leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Oh, Mr. Webb, is there anything we'll show them the beauty of the response?
Well, ma'am, very much. Not in the sense you mean. Come to think of it, there are some girls that play the piano at the high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, ma'am, there isn't much culture here, but maybe this is the place to tell you that we've got a lot of touches of a kind here. We like the sun coming up over the mountain in the mornings, and we all notice a good deal about the birds. We pay a lot of attention to them. And we watch the change of the seasons. Yes, everybody knows about them. But those other things? You're right, ma'am. Very much. Robinson Crusoe in the Bible, and the Handler's Laudigo, we don't know about that. And the Whistler's Mother, those are just about as far as we go.
Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we'll get back to our town. All 624 have had their dinners, all the dishes have been washed. Ain't many buggies on Main Street, and all the horses are dozing off on the hitching post. Of course, Doc Gibbs in his office tapping people and making them say, ah. There's Mr. Webb about to pull us on. One man in 10 thinks it's a privilege to cut his own lawnmower. No, sir, it's later than I thought. Here are the children coming home from school now.
Lois, I've got to go home and help my mother. I promised.
No camines por las nubes, Emilia. A ver, ¿quién de mis hijos quieres ahora?
Eres terrible, papá. Me dices que pongo los pies en la tierra y inmediatamente te burlas de mí. Nunca más te haré caso.
Dios, nunca antes se golpean de un tema tan importante.
Excuse me, Miss Forrest.
You go down the field, young man. You have no right to play baseball on Main Street.
I'm very sorry, Miss Forrest. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Been fighting to meet your class today.
Well, I was really ready to talk about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Corcoran made me talk about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both, though.
Shit, it's funny. From my window up there, I can just see your headlights from when you're doing your homework over in your room.
Why, can you?
It's really do stick to them. I don't see how you could sit still for that long. I guess you do like school.
Well, I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah,
I don't mind it really. It passes the time.
say a minute. What if we built some sort of telegraph from my one to yours? Maybe every now and then you can give me a little hint into one of those algebra problems. I don't mean the answers, of course not, just some little hints.
Oh, I think hints are allowed. So, if you're stuck on a problem, George, give it to me and I'll give you some hints.
Emily, you're naturally bright, I guess.
I figured that it's just the way a person's born.
You see, Emily, I want to be a farmer. And my uncle Luke says whenever I'm bored, I can just come over and work in his farm. And if I'm any good, I can just graduate heaven.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah, well, well, I better be getting out to the baseball field. Thanks a lot, Emily. Good afternoon, Miss Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George. Emilia, ven a ayudarme a descontar estas habichuelas.
Veo que George Gibbs se ha vuelto conversador, ¿no? ¿Cuántos años tendrá?
No lo sé.
A ver, tiene que tener cerca de 16.
Mamá, hice una presentación en clase, me fue muy bien.
Debes enseñarle a tu padre lo que hiciste a la hora de la comida. ¿De qué se trataba?
Sobre la compra de Luisiana. Me quedó tan fluido como un hilo de seda que corre por una bobina. Voy a dedicarme a hacer discursos toda mi vida. ¿Mamá está bien así?
Trata de no cortarlos tan grandes si puedes.
Mamá, quiero que seas sincera conmigo y me digas algo.
¿Qué? Dime.
Mamá, ¿crees que soy atractiva?
Claro que sí. Todos mis niños tienen buenas facciones. Me avergonzaría si no fuera así.
Pero no es eso lo que quiero preguntarte. Te pregunto si soy bonita.
Ya te lo he dicho, tienes una buena cara, eres joven. ¿Qué tonterías traes?
Mamá, nunca me dices la verdad sobre nada.
Te estoy diciendo la verdad.
Mamá, ¿eras tú bonita?
Sí. ¿Quieres que te diga la verdad? Era la muchacha más bonita del pueblo, atrás de Mimi Cartwright.
Pero mamá, debes de ser sincera conmigo. ¿Soy yo lo suficientemente bonita para hacer que la gente se fije en mí?
Emilia, basta, me agotas, ya te lo he dicho. Tienes tu propio encanto para tener una vida normal. Vamos, lleva este vasijo.
No, mamá, you're no help at all.
Thank you, ladies. That'll do. We'll have to interrupt here again. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Emily. I should tell you that the Cara interests have just begun building a new bank in Grover's Corners. Had to move to Vermont for the marbles, hard to say. And they asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000 years from now. Of course, they put in a copy of the New York Times and Mr. Webb's Centennial. We're pretty interested in this stuff because a scientific fellow found a way of painting all that reading matter in glue, a silicon glue, to last 1,000, 2,000 years. We're putting in a copy of the Bible and the Constitution of the United States and some of William Shakespeare's plays. What do you say, folks? What do you think? You know, Babylon once had 2 million people in it. And you all know them for the names of some kings and some big contracts, and the contracts for the sale of slaves. And even then, the families would come home for dinner, and the father would come home from work, smoking up the chimney. Same as here. And even in Greece and Rome, all we really know about the real lives is what we can piece together from joking poems and the comedies that were for the theater back then. So I'm putting a copy of this play so that people know 1,000 years from now know a few simple facts about us. More than they knew about the Lindbergh flights or, you know what I mean? So people, 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the province north of New York in the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were. In our growing up, in our marrying, in our living, and in our dying. No, sir, it's later than I thought. You can hear the choir going on in the Congregational Church. The children are up doing their schoolwork, and the days run down like a tired clock.
Now look here, everybody. Music was brought into the world to give us pleasure. Now from the top. Softer, softer, softer. Get it out of your head that music is always good when it's loud. It's the loudest in the music you can ever do. Now from the top, tenors. Unidos, unidos, es un nombre, unidos,
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third?
Why, yes, George. That's the easiest of them all.
I don't see Emily. Can you give me hints?
I'll tell you one thing. Answers in yards.
In yards? What do you mean?
In square yards?
Oh, in square yards.
Yes, George, don't you see? In square yards of wallpaper?
Wallpaper. Oh, I see. Thanks, Emily.
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible, and with choir practice going on, I think if you hold your breath long enough, you can hear the train all the way from Contact. Do you hear it?
What do you know?
Well, I guess I better go back and finish my work.
Good night, Emily. Thanks.
Good night. You're welcome, George.
Now, before I forget, show me your hands. Miss Williams and her 2 weeks afternoon for Brother Percy's wedding. That'll be fine. That'll be great. We'll do the same songs we did last month, the drinking over his wedding. Now we'll do Art Thou Weary and Art Thou Laughing. It's a question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it talk.
Oh, George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Bob.
Make yourself comfortable. Only keep you a moment. How old are you, George?
I'm 16, almost 17.
And what do you plan to do when school's over?
Well, you know, Bob, I want to be a fireman and become smarter.
So you'll be willing, will you, to wake up early every single morning, wash and hay and hoe and all day?
Sure, well, what do you mean, Bob?
Well, when I was in my office earlier today, I heard a funny sound. What do you think that sound was? That was your mother chopping wood. There you see her getting up early every morning, cooking meals all day long, washing and ironing, and still she has to go out to the backyard and chop wood. I guess she just got tired of you. She just got tired of asking you too. And you, eating the meals that she makes, wearing the clothes that she keeps nice for you, and you run off and you play baseball. Like she's some hired girl we keep around the house. Now that we don't like very much. Well, I knew all I had to do was bring your attention to it. Here's a handkerchief, son.
Thanks, Bob.
George, I've decided to raise your spending money 25 cents. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother. That's a gift that you give her. But, well, you're getting older, and I suppose there will be things you will need for it.
Thanks, Bob.
Let's see, your payday's tomorrow. You can count on that. Rebecca will probably feel like she ought to have some more too. I don't know what's keeping your mother. Chiropractors have never had ladies this before.
It's only that person, Bob.
Traipsing around the street at this hour. I don't even know why she's still in that old choir. She hasn't any more voice than an old crow. Just about time to get tired, don't you think?
Thanks, Bob.
Good night.
Mr. Foster. Good night, Irma. I'll tell Mr. Rodolfo he want to put it in the paper. Good night.
Real nice choir practice, wasn't it?
Murder Web, would you look at that moon? Potato weather for sure.
Now that we're alone, I didn't want to say anything in front of the others. But really, it's the worst scandal there ever was in this town.
What?
Simon Stimson.
No, Luella.
But Julia, to have the organist church drink and drunk year after year, you know he was drunk tonight.
No, Luella. We all know about Mr. Stimson, and we all know about Mr. Stimson's problems. And so does Dr. Ferguson. And if Dr. Ferguson can keep him in his job, then the best thing we can do is just not notice it.
Not to notice it, but it's getting worse.
No,
It isn't, Luella. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have. It doesn't happen anywhere near so often. I hate to go to bed on a night like this, but the children be staying up till hours. Good night, Luella.
can you get home safely?
It's bright as a day. I can see Mr. Soames skulling at the window now. You'd think we'd been to a dance the way the men folk talk.
We had a real nice time.
You're late enough.
Oh, we're not any later than usual, Frank.
And you gossiping with a lot of heads.
Now don't be grouchy. Come out and smell the heliotrope under the moonlight. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Frank, what did you do when I was away?
I read, as usual. What were you and the girls gossiping about?
Oh, believe me, there is something to gossip about.
Simon Simpson far gone, was he?
Worst I've seen him. But Dr. Ferguson will keep forgiving me. I don't.
I reckon I know more about Simon Simpson's affairs than anybody in this town. Some people are made for small town life. I don't know how that'll end, but it's best to leave on. Come on, come inside.
Frank, wait! I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
I think it's my duty to make sure you get a real rest and change. And if I get that legacy, Well, I'm going to decide on it.
Julia, there's no sense in going over that
Frank,
again.
you're just unreasonable.
Come on, come inside. Next thing you know, you'll catch a cold. I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you'll have your wood chopped for a while anyway. No, start going upstairs.
Oh dear. There's always so many things to pick up, seems like. Do you know, Frank? Mrs. Fairchild always locks her door at night. All those people in that part of town do.
Well, they're all getting certified. That's the problem with them. They ain't got nothing to Berlin, and everybody knows that.
Get up, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window.
Let me just look a minute.
Use your own window.
I did. There's no moon there. George, you know what I think, do you? I think maybe the moon's getting near and near, and there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. The moon will getting nearer than the guys who use the telescope to see it first, and then be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, probably is.
9 o'clock, most everyone's asleep. We know there's Constable Warren checking a few knobs on Main Street, and there's Mr. Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Good evening, Bill.
Good evening, Mr. Webb.
Quite a moon.
Yep.
All quiet tonight?
Samson Simpson is rolling around a little. Just saw his wife moving out to go hunting, so I looked the other way. There he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to have settled down for the night pretty well. Good evening, yes. Most of the town settled down for the night, Simon. I guess we'd better do the same. Can I walk a long ways with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's going to end, Mr. Webb.
Well, you seem to pack of trouble, one thing after another. Oh, Bill, if you see my boy smoking, just give him a word, will you? He thinks a lot of it, Bill.
I don't think he smokes some cigarettes, Mr. Webb. At least not 2 or 3 a year.
Well, hope not. Well, good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
¿Quién está ahí? ¿Eres tú, Mero?
No, soy yo, papá.
¿Por qué no te has ido a acostar?
No sé, no me podía quedarme dormida. La luz de la luna es tan maravillosa y el perfume del heliotropo de la señora Gibbs. ¿Lo sientes?
Sí. ¿Tienes alguna preocupación, Emilia?
¿Preocupaciones, papá? No.
Bueno, pásalo bien, pero que no te sorprenda tu madre. Buenas noches, Emilia.
Buenas noches, papá.
I never told you about the letter Jacob forgot for minutes when she was sick. He wrote Jen a letter, and on the envelope, the address was like this. Jane Crawford, to Crawford Farm, Grover's Corners, Southern County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
What's so funny about that?
But listen, it's not finished. The United States of America, continent of North America, Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God, and that's what it said in the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman wrote it just the same.
What do you know?
That's the end of the first act, folks.